We've been fortunate to be a little bit cooler here,
Yeah.
at least in the Bay Area, but always a reminder we're still in the middle of fire season.
We are. But you know, a good reminder of that is we had smoke in our sky, homegrown smoke coming out of the Bay from a fire today.
Ooh.
And it was the good kind,
Okay.
the prescribed burn happening on Mount Tam. So if you thought for a moment you could see a little bit of haze out there off on the horizon today, you weren't crazy. You were seeing a little bit of smoke. 2 vantage points on this. Saw it from our camera on Mount Diablo, looking back towards Mount Tam. You see Mount Tam out there? Now take a look over here, right about there. See that? That is a prescribed fire. Watch what happens in the time lapse. It's very subtle, but you see just a little bit of smoke emanating from that. And then it's hazy all throughout. That's the marine layer. This stuff was the smoke. Let me show you another vantage point of it. Let's go to the camera that sits on top of Mount Tam and look back this way, and you're going to see it. And it's going to start right at 10 o'clock. By the way, that's Lake Lagunitas right down there. So you're on Mount Tam, and you're looking off towards the north. Watch what happens right at 10 o'clock. You're going to see a little plume of smoke that emanates from there. And then it just builds and keeps going. It hits the inversion layer right here, so the smoke can't really spread too far. It hits that ceiling and then spreads out. I looked at all the air quality sensors today. Within the last hour, they're all good. So we don't have a major problem from air quality, but you can see that's a decent amount of smoke. It's enough to get people's attention, and it should make you feel good, because we need to be doing much more of that on the landscape. And we've gotten so much better at understanding the days where we can responsibly do this and make up for a century and a half of lost territory, a good fire on the landscape. That was today. So good news there. Let's come back to the forecast here. I'll show you what it looks like here at home. That is the marine layer. And that little plume of smoke was not enough to show up on the satellite. Oftentimes we track the big fires using the satellite, but that thing was too small to be seen today. All right, let's get into the forecast for tomorrow. Here's the heads up on tomorrow. We do have a bit of a jump in temperatures for Friday. You're going to be about 5 to 7 degrees warmer in general if you are inland. So the first thing we're looking at here is just the difference, just kind of picking out some of the representative spots to see how we're going to feel this. North Bay really feels it. Look at the number here for Santa Rosa. What's happening tomorrow is we're turning off the influence of the cool onshore coming in through the Petaluma Gap and everywhere else. You're going to wake up tomorrow morning and there will not be any marine layer, not even here in the heart of the bay. You're going to start out with clear skies, and those are usually the days when you get a nice little warm up. So let's take a look at where we'll be for daytime highs. I'll get out of the way now. You pick out your part of the bay. That means you're going back up to 93 in Concord. You're going to 93 in Santa Rosa tomorrow. You'll go to 75 in Fremont, and that was an 82 down there for the daytime high showing up for San Jose. So that's a bit of a jump. It is not going to last long. Show you the weekend here coming up in a bit. The marine layer is coming right back. And by the time we get there, when the marine layer does come back in on Saturday and Sunday, you're going to notice the temperatures take a bit of a drop. One other thing we want to look at on here about Friday, in addition to talking about the temperatures going up, it's going to be a bit windier. You see the streamlines on here, kind of rushing, and you see how they're coming in right here through the Golden Gate? Look up here how they get into the deep shades of red. These are stronger onshore winds, about 40 to 50 mile-an-hour winds out here. And if we just look at some of the important spots that'll feel this most, the wind speeds showing up for places like Point Reyes will be about 40 miles an hour. That's a windy day out here. San Francisco, you could hit 30 mile-an-hour gusts. But if you look at San Jose, it won't be terrible. And that's probably more representative of how most of us will feel this tomorrow. It's breezy, but there's no wind advisory. However, if you got to drive over Altamont Pass tomorrow, out by the big wind turbines, you're going to have 40 mile-an-hour gusts going out here. So in some parts of the bay, it will be quite windy, kind of classic when we start to get into our strong gusts for onshore winds. But that's the main thing. Tomorrow kind of sticks out like a sore thumb because it's one day. Get a bit of a jump in temperatures. It gets windy. Inland goes to the mid-90s, and then look at the weekend. Right back down again. There's the marine layer. Comes right back in. Daytime highs inland, not getting out of the 70s on Sunday. It's short-lived. Think of the weekend as grayer and cooler. And then by next week, we're just warming right back up again. So you'll see daytime highs go back to the mid-90s by the time we get to the middle of next week. And we'll finish it out now by looking at the 7-day forecast for the bay. Plenty of marine layer coming back for the weekend. And I think even here, more sunshine by the middle of the week.